is March Madness season, and I am very excited.
Here we go. Welcome to the NCAA tournament.
Welcome to a special March Madness edition YouTube video of our tiers before March Madness. The bracket is released this Sunday, Selection Sunday, and we have our tiers. We're going to go through 3 tiers of teams. You have a maximum of 5 teams per tier, and we're going to see how this shakes out. This was a little tough, and I'm here with Bryce and Dula, as always. How we doing, boys? I am very fucking excited for Selection Sunday.
Sure you are. This is
Right,
the.
Connor,
Go ahead.
since this is your thing, you can kind of like lead the way, and then if we have any interjections or we disagree with your selections, we'll have some debates.
Okay, that's fine. All right. We will start with, so there are 3 tiers, the top 3 tiers. There are only top 3 tiers in all of tiering, okay? The S tier is the cream of the crop, the best of the best. You know what's good. That is the S tier. Then you have the A tier, who's slightly better. You know, they're very good too, and they have Final Four potential and maybe could sneak a national title. And then the B tier is a team like you're just looking, you know, they could make the Sweet 16. Maybe they make a Cinderella run to the Final Four. They're really good teams. They're all really good teams, but the S tier is going to be teams that can win the national title. So we have these tiers, and we're going to go through them, and each tier is going to contain a maximum of 5 teams. So
Let me pull this up. Oh yeah, this is my surprise. So
Ooh.
before we get started,
no.
bottom tier.
Oh.
Go. All right.
Oh.
I just had to put that in there.
I was gonna throw them in as an F tier, as in they fucking suck.
Yeah, they're below out first round.
Okay.
And also
That's
Kentucky.
a gut punch. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. It's all right. Next, onward and upward. So Duke is in the Duke tier, which is out of the tournament, out of everything, quarantining for coronavirus at this point. We're not going to talk about Duke. We're not going to talk about Duke. We're not going to talk about Duke. There's no reason to talk about Duke. They're not relevant. They're not that good. No reason to talk about Duke. Okay. Coach K can barely coach anymore. Not going to talk about Duke.
Oh.
S tier. Starting off with the S tier. Starting off with the S tier. Huh?
I think it'd be easier to go by team.
Okay,
So, like,
let's go. Oh, yes. Okay.
Easier
let's
to
by
go
team.
like.
Okay. So you want me to
You
go?
can start with
Okay,
Alabama.
so Alabama. I was very kind of going back and forth on Alabama. I sent Dula an entire blurb on Alabama, and basically the sum up blurb is Alabama. All they do is either get shots at the rim or shoot 3-pointers. I mean, Dula, how many shot charts have I sent you? They literally do not shoot long twos. They get high percentage shots, and they're coached very well. Nate Oates is a very analytically driven guy, and because of that, they're like 22-5. They've been rolling right now. And for that reason, I have them in the Final Four potential, that A tier. I do not have them as one of the title favorites. I was wavering with this, and they are very talented, and I think they can get there. They have John Petty is a really good player, and I like Javon Quinterly a lot. But
Petty got hurt
I
today.
worry. What?
He left the game with an injury today, didn't he?
Oh, did he? I didn't watch the game.
At the end of the game, he left with an injury.
Oh God. Well, that's not good. But if they shoot really well from 3, they're going to do really well. If they don't shoot really well from 3, they could struggle. But they're a top 5 defense, so they're obviously in the Final Four potential. I had them in my second tier, my A tier or Final Four potential tier.
Just like to point out, when you look at their shot charts, it looks like they're playing a game in 2K because they don't take any mid-range twos. It's just shots at the rim and then 3-pointers.
And it's fun to watch.
Disagreements there. I'm putting them in Final Four potential.
Nice.
Next, we got Houston.
Okay. Houston. I was on the border of I was really high on Houston coming into the year because Quentin Grimes is a transfer from Kansas, and he's a really good player, and he was just kind of coming into his own. Houston plays in a really bad conference, and most years Houston's not really that good, but I was actually really high on them coming into. I thought they could get a 3 seed in the tournament at the beginning of the year when they're typically a 6 or a 7 at sometimes, but they're going to get a 3 seed this year. I am going to have them kind of. I was on the fence. I had a pool of teams together, but Houston is good, but they're good enough to dominate the mid majors. They're good enough to dominate their conference, but they're not, super good. I think they can make some noise.
What about you, Bryce?
Hold on, I can't. It's doing the thing again, so I can't see anything right now.
All right, so we'll pick up with Houston. Houston, I had in the can make some noise, but I don't think they can make too much noise.
Where were we? Houston? Is it flashing on your screen?
No.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go to this side of the teams, because these are the less interesting teams, and we can say like the more interesting teams for
Okay.
later. So
Yeah,
got Wichita State on this side.
I'm
I
out.
added after they won today. What do you mean you're out?
Yeah, I'm out on Wichita State.
Okay. That was lost to USF today. So you think out first round, or yeah, let's go out first round.
Okay.
They'll make the tournament if they win their conference tournament, and have an automatic bid too.
Yeah.
Far outside of the standings. So ahead of Duke.
Everybody's ahead of Duke.
How do you feel about Morehead State?
They're very intriguing, and they're looking like a 14 seed. And if you look at teams who are like bound to be a 3 seed at this point, you're looking at teams like your West Virginias, your Kansases, your Creightons, etc. And I don't know if they're good enough. I lean more towards out in the first round, but if they got a favorable matchup, they have a really good big guy, and they just they move the ball really well. Like surprisingly for a team that like is slower pace, they really move the ball well. And I lean more towards out in the first round, but like gun to my head, if I had to pick them or Liberty, I would probably go Liberty. But it's pretty close.
Yeah, they're an interesting team. I don't think they would have made the tournament without winning their conference tournament, but they actually had a case for an automatic bid had they not. So throw them in out first round. Let's do Liberty next, since you just mentioned Liberty.
Yeah, Liberty's interesting because Liberty they like to push the ball really fast, and they like to shoot a lot of threes, and they like to just stuff it down your throat. They're not like gonna play to your style of game. They're not gonna like prepare for if they get, I don't know. Liberty's bound to be a 12 seed. They're a 12 seed every year. So I assume this year they're gonna be a 12 again. If they got a 5, I'm trying to think off the top of my head who the 5s would be. Like your tier below, like your Virginias, etc.
I mean, you
And
might get Villanova at a 5 these last couple games.
I'll tell you what, if they get Villanova, I'm taking them, absolutely taking them. If they were to get someone like Villanova, because I just I didn't like them even when they didn't have Gillespie. I mean, let's just do Villanova too while we're doing Liberty. Liberty, let's put Liberty in the can make some noise category.
Yeah, because they have a good chance of making it past the first round. So
Yeah, they do. And
we'll
I'm
put
just
it there.
gonna tackle Villanova here. I'm not taking Villanova unless I really don't think the opponent's really good, and I just think Jeremiah Robinson Earl can just like propel them to a victory. I really worried for Villanova, and I wasn't like bullish on them even when Gillespie was in the lineup. He was like, their defense is so bad, and Jay Wright's teams really aren't that good defensively. They haven't been that outlier year with Mikal Bridges, but they're really not good this year. I mean, even when Gillespie was playing, he was atrocious defensively, like really bad. There's no help. They're terrible at switches. They get backdoored every day, like too much. They are not good. And I'm very worried that they're going to get knocked out in the first round. And I don't know if America will have them getting knocked out in the first round. So I will actually put them in this tier. I don't know if that's a hot take. If it's not because of their
First
injury.
round. They look like a different team without Gillespie. So past couple games they played, they just look good at all. So I would put them out first round. They probably get upset. I'm like, if they get matched up with Liberty, I don't think they beat Liberty.
Right. I agree.
All right. Where do you want to go? You go back to this side? Want to keep going this way?
Yeah, we can keep ping ponging here.
Right.
Can I pull Winthrop and Loyola Chicago together and do them together?
We can do those next. Do you want to wait?
If it doesn't matter.
It's up to you. This is kind of your thing.
All right, I'll do Loyola Chicago and Winthrop together. If
Okay.
I had to pick, so Winthrop's like 33-1 or 32-1 or something, and Loyola Chicago is like almost or undefeated or pretty close to it. Loyola Chicago played Drake twice this year, or 3 times maybe, and Drake's pretty. I mean, they're not bad. They're pretty good. I like Drake more than I like Morehead State. I like Drake more than I like Wichita State. And Loyola Chicago, like, they really like kicked the shit out of them. Like they were just better than them. And Loyola Chicago has like some pretty decent players, and they're not too far off from a Final Four visit. They kind of know who they are, and they're playing really well right now. So Winthrop, I think, is pretty good too. But if I can only really put one of those teams in the out of the first round and then one in that can make some noise. So I'm going to put Winthrop in the out of the first round and Loyola Chicago in that can make some noise.
So you're putting Winthrop out in the first round, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
After all the KenPom pages you sent me of Winthrop, you're saying they're out first round after losing one game all season. Incredible pace they have.
They do
Alright,
have an
put
incredible
them
team.
there.
They're fun to watch. They're fun to watch.
there.
I'm not saying they would. I am just not gonna. I don't want to put more into the can make some noise. I kind of want to balance out these tiers a little tiny bit. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
I
saying
got
they can't make some noise, but if I had to, this is just me picking between the two of them, I would put Loyola Chicago ahead of them.
Yeah.
Not saying Winthrop can't make noise.
Interesting thing about Loyola Chicago, they were 11 seed on their run last time, but they're looking at like a 4 or 5 seed now, and it's tough to tell because they're behind Virginia in the standings. But who knows how the committee is going to take how Virginia wasn't able to follow through with the conference tournament due to COVID. So a positive COVID test. So Loyola might jump in the rankings. So it'll be interesting to see where they get seated.
They're top 10 in the Ken Palm also.
So we'll put them in can make some noise. I actually think they might have some Final Four potential too, if they get the right right side of the bracket,
They could.
right region.
And because they don't play like a whole lot of high volume games, so it's kind of hard for teams to prep for them because it's like, well, is this team really good, or like do they do these things really well, or are they just doing them against weak opponents? And they were like shooting the lights out when they made the Final Four last time. So I like them. They got some super, and I think unfortunately for like us who are trying to gamble on it and make money on it, people know that this team went to the Final Four, so a lot of people are probably going to ride with them, and I'm a little worried for that just in case they do do well.
That's true. It's going to change the lines a lot too.
Yeah, it is. It is. Let me do. Can I pool some of these together just so for time's sake?
Yeah, you can put them together. We'll just bounce around.
Just a couple.
Save the best for last. Connor, what the
sorry,
hell?
Phone's ringing. Sorry.
Unprofessional. Jesus, Connor, come on.
You didn't disconnect the phone before you started.
Dula, I have the phone. You know that I have the phone right on the desk right here. Okay.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna pull together, and all of these teams are going to go either out in the first round or can make some noise. Probably can make some noise, but like not really. These are just teams that I'm just not high on. I'm gonna lump together Virginia, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and that's it.
Okay. Well, for now.
Virginia's not good. Okay, they're just not. Let me clarify. I personally and honestly, reference for Dula, think that Tony Bennett is the best coach in college basketball. I actually think he is the best coach in college basketball, and I don't actually think it's close. His roster really is not that good, and he still like makes do with that team, especially defensively. It's amazing what he does with that team. And their offense, they suck. Like they're really. I've never been super high on them this year. And Duke beat them, and they lost to early in the year. They lost to a team that's like below 500 now in a shitty conference. Early in the year, Ohio maybe, or Miami, Ohio, or something stupid like that. And they lost to that team too. They're not that good, and I think that they have potential to get knocked out in the first round. I don't know if they will. And depending on all this COVID stuff, I'm not sure either. Oklahoma has one really good player, and the rest of their team is just super athletic. And Arkansas, they're fine, but they don't have a guy. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be a team in March Madness, you got to have a guy. And they just have a bunch of dudes who can play, which is fine, but you got to have a guy, and they don't. So I'm getting rid of those two teams. I'm going to say just because you can put them in the can make some noise if you want, but I'm not too bullish on them. So if you want to put them in out, that's fine. Maybe put Virginia in that can make some noise. Arkansas could be out the first round, but they're going to be like a 3 seed or something nuts. So I guess put them all in can make some noise.
What was the other team?
Oklahoma. Yeah.
No, we're doing Oklahoma out first round because it lost me $40 2 nights
Okay.
ago.
That's fine. Let's do that. These other two teams that I want to lump together before 3 teams that I want to lump together before I get into these exciting teams. I'm gonna do Texas Tech, and where's the other one? Texas Tech, Purdue, and Florida State. So obviously they can all make some noise. Texas Tech, speaking of teams who only get shots at the rim and only take 3-pointers in Alabama, Texas Tech is the exact opposite. They take more long twos than any team in the country. They're extremely inefficient at it. Mac McClung, oh my God, Mac McClung, oh my God. Their team plays very good defense. They're good,
Listen,
but they're just
everyone loves Mac McClung.
everyone loves Mac
Okay.
McClung, and he
I
could
don't
be one of
care
those
if he's-
guys. He could be one of
He's
those
just,
March
he
Madness
was
guys.
just he was a high school phenom. Everyone loves Mac McClung. He's a little white kid that can dunk. But don't talk shit on Mac McClung.
All right, I'll keep my shit talking Mac McClung for a minute. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton does this thing with his Florida State teams where he has his best player come off the bench. He's been doing it since like 2005, and it doesn't make sense to me. He had Patrick Williams coming off the bench last year. He had Mafiondu Cabarelli coming off the bench, and now he has an extremely really good talent, Scotty Barnes, coming off the bench. I don't know why he does that, but and it seems to work because they all turn out to be pretty good players. But Florida State, again, they always play 10 guys, and they do it again this year. But this is the weakest set of 10 guys that Leonard Hamilton's had to play in like 6 years, maybe 7 years. So the team's good, but they're not like super good. They're big and they're physical, but like I don't see them like going far in the tournament. Like I just, unless Scotty Barnes is awesome, then I don't see them going anywhere. Texas Tech, they don't do enough for me offensively. Defensively, they're always going to be good. They just don't do enough for me offensively. And Purdue, another team that doesn't have that guy. But if I had to pick, like gun to my head, pick a team of those 3, I'd probably actually pick Purdue because they shoot really well, and their transition defense is really good, and they play in the best conference. But I'm going to put all those in can make some noise, but I'm not too bullish on any of those.
All right, Texas Tech can make some noise. Florida State can make some noise. You said Purdue, right?
Yeah.
We can make some noise. There's a very loaded tier right there. No title favorites yet.
Yes, it's loaded.
Only one Final Four potential.
So, I want to go over for a second. Oh God, I really like all these teams. I'll do USC, West Virginia, and Creighton for a second. So USC has one of the 5 best prospects in Evan Mobley. He's a center. He's like James Wiseman type, but like beta James Wiseman. USC's pretty good, but they tend to like underperform to the team they're playing against. Like when they play really good teams, they play really well, and when they play against really bad teams, they'll like the game will be really close, and they'll just be like really complacent, and that's like worrisome in the NCAA tournament because that's where you lose in the first round. So if I had to pick one of these teams, like to not like possibly lose in the first round, I don't think USC is going to lose in the first round. But if I had to pick one of them, it'd be USC. So USC,
Really?
I'm not too
You want
bullish.
to put them there?
I'm not too bullish. They're not going to lose I don't think they're going to lose in the first round, but I think they could. So if you want to fill this tier a little more, we can just for
So
fun.
you would put them in between, can make some noise and out first round.
Exactly, yes. If I could put
So-
that's where I'd put Oklahoma. That's where I'd put Winthrop. Like you know what I mean? Like if I could put
like out second round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Creighton See, Creighton, I was going to say the guys don't respect the coach anymore after what he said, but then they just ripped off a 40-point win last night, and they played really well. Creighton has a guy who could be that guy, Marcus Zagorowski. He's really good. But I don't think they have the defense to do it. So I'll put them in can make some noise. And West Virginia, I hate doing this to Bob Huggins because this is the best offensive team Bob Huggins has ever had. It's not close. Like, they're really good offensively, and they compete in every Big 12 game that they have. But it's West Virginia. I just don't got them in the final. I just can't see them going to the Final Four. They always do something where they'll make the Sweet 16, right? They'll walk to the Sweet 16, and then they'll underperform to a team, and they'll score 40 points and lose the game. So they can make some noise. I think they could make a Final Four, but like I would put West Virginia, if I could, in between the Final Four potential and can make some noise category. Like if I could do that, but
If you think they could make the Final Four, that's Final Four potential. So I'm going to swing them over to
they
Final Four
could. All right,
potential.
but yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Put them in there. Connecticut, throw them in the Final Four potential. Throw them in. Throw them in. I'm in. I'm all in on Connecticut.
I was
I'm
going
all
to
in.
say that.
I'm all in.
Because
James
they play
Bouknight.
Creighton. They play Creighton tonight, and I think they win that game, and then they go to Big East Finals. Win that too.
Even if they don't beat Creighton tonight, and if they're like hanging in the game, because Bouknight, like that guy's like, I will say he's a walking injury, and he's very like he's a drama queen. But UConn, they have that blueprint that they always have. They always have a stretch guy who just makes defensive plays. They have one guy who's always hustling on the floor, and they have one guy who just makes shots. Like one guy who just makes shots when it matters most. And Bouknight, like when he's been there, like they're 12-2 with him, and like 8 or 4-4 without him. Like he is a difference maker. And arguably, if he was there all season, he missed 8 games. If he was there all season, they probably would have won the Big East. So I'm all in on UConn just because of their history and everything. Would you be surprised if a team like this made the Final Four? Absolutely not.
Nah, UConn thrives in March. Women's and men's.
Absolutely. Kansas, throw them in the Final Four potential, but I'm not too bullish on Kansas. I like Kansas, but I'm not too bullish on them. They also had a COVID issue, so I'm not sure
Take a shot
what's
every
happening
time
there with
Connor
them.
says bullish.
Be fucking pissed
I'm
drunk
gonna
right
change up
now.
my vocabulary. So yeah, Kansas is good. They have a really good senior, Marcus Garrett, who seems like he's been there since like 1985. And they have some Bill Self's the best X's and O's coach in the country, but they kind of with the COVID, they had some pauses here and there. They were kind of inconsistent with lineups, and I wouldn't like bet a lot of money, but I could see them making a significant run. These last teams are significant. It's very hard with these last teams. I'll do Texas first. So Texas, they are super talented. They're excellent defensively. Shaka Smart is the man. A few games ago, Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey got on Andrew Jones for not playing defense, and they had like almost literally a brawl on the bench. It was like Oliver Sports Center. And ever since that game, I have not seen Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey high-five each other once. You are the starting backcourt on a team that's exceptionally good, and I have not seen them talk to each other. I have not seen them do anything like that. They're still winning games, but they don't you know how like if a point guard throws a shooting guard a pass and he makes a shot and the guy will point, like he'll go like this, like nice pass, like you know what I mean? How that happens in the league all the time. It happens all the time. Andrew Jones has not done that to him once, and Courtney Ramey has not done that to him once. Matt Coleman is good. They have a really good center again, and Greg Brown like jumps to
They
the
always
beat.
have a 6'11" center that's going to go between 10 and 20 in the draft.
They're
Wait,
so athletic.
This is Mo Bamba.
Yeah, Mo Bamba. If they didn't have that chemistry issue, I would have them in title favorites. That's how talented this team is. That's how good they are defensively. But because their chemistry is not too good, and you can see it when you watch it, it's like, what the fuck? You guys should be beating teams by 15. I'll put them in Final Four potential, but their chemistry scares the shit out of me. Don't be surprised if they like make the national title game though, because they're good enough.
If Texas makes a run in March Madness, well, in the NCAA tournament, be sure to expect everyone bringing up Andrew Jones' story, which would be an incredible story if they make the Final Four after him bouncing back from what he went through his freshman
Absolutely.
year. So
We love Andrew
pretty
Jones
cool.
here. And Iowa put them in the Final Four potential. They are not title favorites, despite being, the number one offense. They play zero defense, and it's like really they've been better, but like they don't play defense. It's like really bad. And in March, you need a top 20, top 15 defense if you're going to coexist. They might make it to the Elite Eight, and they can make the Final Four, but they're not going to beat some of the heavier hitting teams just because. And Garza, obviously, it's always if a team is close, pick the team with the best player. And in most matchups, I mean, by my account, it's like all but 5 matchups that that Iowa has the best player in Luka Garza. But for those 5 teams who would all beat them, I think, in March Madness, it just depends. So they can make the Final Four, they can make the Elite Eight, etc. These last 6 are all good and pretty much, I mean, they're all intriguing. Oklahoma State has he's going to be the number 1 player drafted. It's not even close. He is, in my opinion, like one of the best point guard prospects like that I've seen in college. The dude is like the stuff with him defense, like we know what he did. He hits clutch shots. Like he is so clutch. Like I've never seen anything like it for someone like his in a freshman year with it. And this is what it says about his character, Cade Cunningham, I'm talking about here. He committed to Oklahoma State. They got the NCAA sanction that said, look, you guys are going to be ineligible for the tournament. And Cade Cunningham was like, oh, and they expected him to leave. He stayed because he made that commitment to Oklahoma State already. So that just shows you the kind of kid he is. He is that dude that could lead any team through March Madness. He is that Kemba Walker. He is that Jimmer Fredette. He's got that DNA. He is sensational. He's so poised. Oklahoma State has played exceptionally well, has basically hung with every team they've played against. Cade Cunningham is going to be a star in March, an absolute star. I think they can win the title solely because of him.
And I was hoping you would put them in Final Four potential so I could make that exact argument. Because in March, when you have, like you said, with Luka Garza, he'll be the best player in the matchup. But when you have a guard that's the best player in the matchup, it's a completely different story because the ball's in their hands on 99% of possessions. Luka Garza will go through offensive possessions where he won't touch the ball, but Cade Cunningham will always have the ball in his hands. So a guard that good can carry like Kemba, like Shabazz Napier, like Jimmer Fredette. So,
and that's a good point.
Final Four potential, so I can make that argument, but we agree.
Exactly. That's a good point. And you look at all the teams that have won the title the past 10 years. I mean, let's take out that Florida team with Al Horford and Joakim Noah. Like, how many of those teams are the best player big men? Like, never. That's never the case. It's always a wing or a guard. And although Iowa's good, they can score. But Oklahoma State, when you have a guy as good as Cade Cunningham is, you literally can win the title. And you play in the top 2 conference in America and you're 17-7, even with injuries. Come on. Like, this dude is amazing. He's amazing. These final 5 teams are all title favorites. They're all the 5 best. These 5 teams, you are looking at the best 5 teams in America right here. These are the 5 best teams. So throw them all in there. I'll do a little bit on each one.
Let's do bet. We want to. I know you can say who you want to go first, because then
all right.
if you want to lead up to the best.
I'll start with Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan's better than Ohio State, but Ohio State's a little deeper than Michigan, if that makes sense. Michigan does this weird thing where they're running. Juwan Howard is like, that dude can really coach. Like, he has been I think he should win Coach of the Year, what he's done with that team. That team was projected to finish middle of the Big Ten. I think that they can win the title. Obviously, they have the depth to do it. Like, they have, especially their starting 5 is just extremely talented. They have the coaching to do it. Ohio State is extremely deep. Chris Holtman is just, that team just loves to throw. EJ Liddell, that dude is just a stud. But again, another player, best player who's not a wing player. And with Michigan, you could argue their best player this year has been Hunter Dickinson, their center. And he's a center. And he has been their best player. But they also have Isaiah Livers, who's been there since 1985 as well. And they're good too. If I had to pick 3 teams if I had to put my money on to win the title, it's Baylor, Illinois, and Gonzaga. In my opinion, the best player in the country for college basketball standpoints, if it's not Cade Cunningham, it is Ayo Dosunmu. Ayo Dosunmu is the most clutch player we have seen in college basketball since Kemba Walker. It's not even close. He's been doing it for 3 years now. He never is not hitting a clutch shot. If you are in a close game, just live line bet Illinois every time because Illinois always finds a way to win. Their freshmen are lights out shooters. Kofi Coburn's nearly unstoppable because he's almost 300 pounds. The Illinois is so I think they're underrated. They're going to be a 1 seed, but people are going to look at them as the worst 1 seed. And you could make the argument that they are the second best team in the country behind Baylor. You could make that argument because they are that good. They play great defense. Ayo Dosunmu also could have won Defensive Player of the Year. He is the best player in the country. If you talk about a guy for March Madness, for me, the two guys I'm looking at most is Cade Cunningham and Ayo Dosunmu. If you haven't watched Cryo Ayo, you have to watch this man. Ayo Dosunmu is the real fucking deal. He's mocking in the second round. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I was gonna
You
bring
could
that up.
play.
Yeah, every mock draft has him late first, early second, which is insane. It'll probably rise throughout March Madness, throughout the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. So he'll probably go from end of the first to mid first, but he'll be a steal in the draft for sure.
I just can't believe that he's like mocking there. It's ridiculous.
It's
So yeah.
insane.
And then finally Gonzaga and Baylor, who are clear cut the two best teams nationally, and I think Illinois is in there too. But Gonzaga has basically been unchallenged all year, and you can't say that it's their schedule. It's not. They're an NBA team. They look like an NBA team when they play. They played Kansas. They played West Virginia. They've played. I mean, they've played like they have like 6 quad 1 games, and they're 6-0 obviously in those quad 1 games. Like they've been really good, and they move the ball. As I said, I made a reel the other night. They are a spitting image of 2008 Memphis because that team had so many veterans. It was Chris Douglas Roberts who was getting drafted. That team had so many veterans and one superstar freshman in Derrick Rose, who, if you need a comp for Jalen Suggs, your two comps are Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook, because Jalen Suggs, for me, is in that category with Cade Cunningham. We thought Cade Cunningham was in a category of his own. Jalen Suggs is right there with him because Gonzaga they're not deep, but their starting 5 is so talented. They work so well together. They're just an offensive juggernaut. Like, they are so much fun to watch. And the way I compare them with Baylor is Gonzaga is like an NBA team. They move like an NBA team. And Baylor's the better team because they're deeper. They have more seniority. They're even more senior than Gonzaga is. And they play exceptional defense. Gonzaga can't play defense. Baylor is an exceptional defensive team. When they played Illinois, Baylor did. They beat Illinois like it was nothing. They shut down Ayo Dosunmu. They shut down Curbelo and all those guys. Like, Baylor, their perimeter defense is so good. They are the most complete team in the country. I think a lot of people are going to bet on Gonzaga to win the title, which they can. Obviously, we know that. But if gun to my head, as I said before, if I had to pick one team who is the title favorites of title favorites, I would go Baylor 1, and I would tie Gonzaga and Illinois at 2. And I would put Oklahoma State, Michigan, and Ohio State in that third title favorite tier. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way it sets up now, it would be Illinois would be the third or fourth 1 seed.
4th.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It'd be a fourth 1 seed, so they'd end up playing either Gonzaga or Baylor in the Final Four. They wouldn't match up with them. Would match up with one of them in the finals, but that'd be a interesting Final Four matchup if it pans out that way.
And I do expect. Here's how it typically goes. We know how typically it's 3-1 seeds and oh shit, where did this team come from? Anywhere from a 2 to a 9 seed. That's what it's been the past 5 years. So in my opinion, if I had to pick 3 of those 1 seeds, it would be Baylor, Illinois, and Gonzaga. Because could you imagine getting Illinois and Gonzaga in the national semifinal? That'd be a better match because Baylor, I mean, Illinois, that's a terrible matchup for them. Baylor's a terrible matchup for them. But Gonzaga's a very good matchup for them. So if they got Gonzaga, that'd be in their favor. If they got Baylor, it wouldn't be in their favor. But that's what I got for tiers as of this point. Does anyone, Bryce, what you got to say about this, Bryce?
I like basketball.
There you go. It's going to be fun to watch. That's for sure.
You're
But-
saying Baylor would win the championship.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, if I had to pick one. And look, depending on how the bracket turns out, I might switch that. I might change that. But for now, like if it was just a random bunch of teams, Baylor is. If you watch it, it's clear. Like they are the best team. They had a 3-week pause because 8 of their players had COVID. Like 8 of their players, they couldn't pick up a basketball or do anything for 3 weeks. So nearly a month. They came back and beat West Virginia, and West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and another Big 12 team, just like because, like, just so you know, they dropped one to Kansas, but they were a little banged up for that game, whatever. But and now they're fully back, like they're playing really well again. And Jared Butler is another one of those guys who they have a clear-cut number 1 player, and it's Jared Butler, and he's an exceptional wing, etc. So those are my tiers for now.
Just add that if I had to pick a Final Four out of these teams, I would go Alabama, UConn, Illinois, Gonzaga. I don't know how the bracket's going to be, but that would be my Final Four. And then I'd have my pick first week of the season was Illinois, but I'll probably go with Gonzaga. But I pick Illinois at least one of my brackets because I said first week of the season they'd win it all.
I do really like Alabama a lot. I love the way they play. I love Nate Oates.
Who's going to win a basketball championship and a football championship
Kidding me?
the same year?
Yo, where's
Alright.
North Carolina at though?
Well, hold on. We'll get to that. All right. So these are the
come
tiers.
on,
We're
come
also going to
Connor.
do. Shut the fuck up.
There's the intro.
Like he's,
All right,
it sounds like he was talking to
So these are our tiers. We're going to do a
Fucking
quick
Connor, just shut
pod
the
on
fuck
like sleep. All right. So this was just a quick, well, not so quick. This was a YouTube video based on, just our tiers for now. And then we're going to do a quick pod with our sleepers, as well as how we think the tournament's going to come out, etc., stuff like that. So are there any final thoughts before we end this YouTube video?
roll the outro, Connor.
That was his outro. Him explaining that this was a YouTube video is his outro.
Explaining it to the fans.
It's gonna be on YouTube. No
Yeah,
shit, it's a YouTube video.
Yeah, so is the pod. All right.
Oh, I love it.